Hey folks, and welcome back to another episode of your Brains Coach podcast. My name is Angela Shurina. I'm your host, I'm your Brains Coach, and it is my job here to bring to you all the best brain body tools to feel, look, and do your best by making the best possible decisions and sticking with them. And that's what you can easily do when you understand how your brain works and what makes it tick, so to speak. And that ultimately makes you to create the best trajectory in your life and achieve all of your personal, professional, fitness, health goals. Today is Monday, and it so happens that yesterday I met a few people. First, I went out with a new friend and a neighbor of mine to do cold exposure or cold swim here in the cold ocean. I believe it is Atlantic Ocean here. Yes, Atlantic Ocean, South Africa, Cape Town. So we did cold dive and talked about dopamine and how it goes up for 2 to 5 fold after proper cold exposure for prolonged period of time being submerged in water, and how dopamine then plays into motivation and drive for action, and how then you just in a better mood and so proactive during the day when you do this cold exposure. So that was like first part of the day. Second part of my day off, I went to a writing meetup. I love writing, and this week I need to get back to my blog writing and more regular writing. And so I decided, well, let me meet some writers, people who do write on a regular basis. And I went to the writing meetup. And the organizer, Luke, we got to talk about motivation. He asked me a lot of questions about my lifestyle and my goals and what makes me go and do things. We talked about remote jobs and how to get one. And we talked about a lot of things. But Luke was really curious about motivation. He said, to move things forward, we need to be more proactive. We need to get up and get things going more often than not without somebody having to tell us that we need to get up, go and put extra work in. So Luke asked me, where do you get this motivation to get up, get things done, get things going consistently? Where does it come from? Where do you get it? How do you stay motivated? And I thought to myself, and when I work with people, I usually give them this formula for motivation. Motivation equals reason, emotional reason to act, or your why, and your physical energy to act. So motivation has this, two aspects to it. First, you need to have your why, you need to have your reason to act, but then the second, of course, you need to have physical energy to do the action. And usually people with lower physical energy would not have the drive to act in the first place, because when your brain senses that you don't have enough physical energy, you're usually not going to be feeling all that motivated to do stuff. So the first step is always to increase your energy. But then the second part of this is, okay, but how do I, start some healthy habits if I don't have motivation in the first place? And that actually, I kind of was thinking in my head while talking to Luke. And I realized that in order to stay consistently motivated, especially motivated to do the hard things, when things get tough, when things get challenging, when you are uncomfortable, but you still do things, like, for example, doing this cold exposure, not the most, pleasant experience, at least not at the beginning. And so, but how do you get yourself motivated? And I realized at that moment that also hit me that dopamine works in a lot of people think that dopamine makes you feel good. Well, it makes you feel good when you get some reward, but it also, a part of dopamine cycle is then it drops and you feel dissatisfied, you feel discomfort, you feel frustrated, disappointed. And actually that what drives action to seek out things to satisfy, that discomfort or to remove it. And so when you think about motivation, I realized that people who achieve a lot, and why I keep going and keep pushing and keep dreaming and keep going after my dreams with goals and action steps, why I keep doing this is that I'm not satisfied with what is, with where I am. And I told Luke, it's dissatisfaction that drives people, that drives me, that drives anyone who consistently puts actions in, going after it one step after another, going after it no matter how hard, how long it gets. It's the dissatisfaction, I told Luke, that drives us. And then Luke continued conversation and he said, I'm kind of satisfied with where I am and what I do. And I told him, well, that's exactly why sometimes or often you don't feel that motivated. It's because you feel quite satisfied. Maybe the dopamine doesn't go that high, doesn't fall that low for you. And maybe that's why you don't feel that dissatisfaction. And then we started to talk about Buddhist monks, and monks in general, but especially Buddhist monks, they seem to be so serene, so at peace and not wanting anything, but then also not frustrated or dissatisfied with anything. And I told him, well, if you were to become satisfied with everything, then you'd be kind of like a Buddhist monk. You'd be okay with doing nothing and not changing much and just accepting reality as it is and observing it and not doing much with it. That's who you'll become if you want to escape dissatisfaction, or if you are genuinely just satisfied with everything. And I actually truly believe that what keeps high achievers going after it day after day, months after months, year after year, whether you take Elon Musk, whether you take, Grant Cardone, whether you take Russell Brunson, whether you take Alex Hormozi, it's that dissatisfaction with how things are at the moment that drives them. And that high level of dopamine that has the opposite side. Yes, it gives you pleasure, it gives you reward, it gives you good feeling when you achieve things, but more often than not, it makes you be in that dissatisfied state. And that's what drives me. And when I hear Alex Hormozi speaking, or I hear Russell Brunson speaking how their journey evolved, they felt dissatisfied with how things were in their life. You might also say that curiosity is the biggest driver. And yes, it drives novelty, curiosity, exploration, drives dopamine, because that signals a potential reward when we explore something, when we open up the area of our exploration. But then again, I would argue curiosity is the feeling of being not satisfied with not knowing, and you not satisfied with not knowing it. And so you go out and you try to understand it and to learn it. And that's probably how scientists work. They are dissatisfied with the state of not knowing. And we all have our, small or big scientist inside of us. And that curiosity, what is it? Again, it's a drive to pursue knowledge because you're not satisfied with not knowing. And so, folks, if you struggle with motivation in any area of your life, whether that's your personal health and fitness journey, whether that's your business journey, whether that's your relationships, just sit down and think to yourself, am I satisfied with this area, or do I feel dissatisfaction? And I almost guarantee to you that the areas where you excel, you feel that dissatisfaction most acutely. And that's why you pursue things in that area. And that's why you excel in that area. So for me, for example, I'm single. I've been single most of the time for quite a few years, to be honest. And now I'm finally at a point where I'm truly dissatisfied with how things are. And that's why I'm getting in to meet more people. I'm, putting on my schedule more social events. I'm figuring out how to get into circles of like-minded people, specifically entrepreneurs or, adventurous who usually also entrepreneurs, to meet someone who I connect with and to build a relationship. And that's because I got to a point where I am truly not satisfied with how things are. And the reason why I stayed single for that long and it didn't bother me, it's because it didn't bother me. I was kind of satisfied. That's why I didn't build anything there. So again, back to the idea of dissatisfaction. If you want to improve some area, but you don't have enough dissatisfaction, that area most probably will stay quite the same. But the beauty of a human mind, folks, and this is the key, you can increase dissatisfaction. And that's what people like Tony Robbins, one of the great coaches of the mind, that's what Tony Robbins does. He makes you understand how dissatisfied you actually are with this area, how it affects all other areas of your life, whether that relationships, business, your health and fitness. Tony makes you realize that you are indeed dissatisfied, that you have a bigger vision for that area, and you actually are being made unhappy almost on a regular basis by this area. But sometimes you just don't know where this frustration comes, and you don't realize that actually dissatisfaction, for example, in your health and fitness or in your business, that's what drives this underlying blue mood or feeling of, not being so happy. This, again, dissatisfaction. And once you pinpoint it, and you realize how actually dissatisfied you are with this area, that's when you start putting actions in place, consistent actions. And when you really focus on this feeling of being not satisfied with where you are in this specific area, that's when you're going to catapult towards your goals at more speed. Because that dissatisfaction, that's what drives all pursuit. And that's your dopamine, the other side of dopamine. Yes, dopamine makes you feel good when you get reward, but for majority of time, it makes you feel dissatisfied with how things are. That's why you seek out food. That's why you seek out job opportunities. That's why you get out there and work out, because you're dissatisfied with how things were. Or for a lot of us, fitness and health fanatics, we are not satisfied with not feeling as good. To explain to you a little bit further, like why I exercise, because if I don't feel that great. That dopamine, it doesn't flow. That, other neurochemicals like serotonin and endorphins and adrenaline, they're just not there. And instead of boost of dopamine that I get from exercise, I get nothing. And that feeling of dissatisfaction, of not getting it, that's what drives me to go and pursue further exercise. You kind of become a little bit of an addict to exercise because you look for that reward, but most of the time you're in that dissatisfied phase. I hope this makes sense, folks. What you want to understand, if you are struggling right now with a specific area in your life where you find it hard to get motivated, find your dissatisfaction. What are you missing out on? What are you losing every single day when you stay exactly the same? Amplify that dissatisfaction. I'm working on my business more than on anything else, more than any time previously in my life. And the reason why I'm deeply dissatisfied, I'm almost in pain because of the state of how things are. I know I can be so much more, and I know I want to be in circles of different people. I want to do so many more things, go to different festivals to network and to learn a lot more, go to different conferences and just speak more. There are so many things that I want, And the state of my business right now doesn't allow me to do that. And I'm deeply dissatisfied with that. And that's why I'm going to work harder and smarter as long as it takes to change it. And that's why I don't need any additional motivation, because I'm aware how dissatisfied I am with this area. So again, if you're struggling with motivation for example, maybe it's your health and fitness. This podcast started as a nutrition, as a health podcast. Then figure out, what are you losing? What are you missing out by not taking action, consistent action, by not reaching your goals in this area? What's your dissatisfaction? What are you stealing from yourself by not putting enough consistent action in this area to actually reach your goals? Instead of saying, it kind of doesn't matter. But does it? Or is it really actually very important and you just kind of gave up on it? So find that dissatisfaction. Make yourself feel really, really bad, and almost to the point of feeling like that pain physically. And connect to that dissatisfaction more often. Let it fuel, as Alex Hormozzi say, your pursuit of your goals. That dissatisfaction. Sometimes it's sadness, sometimes it's anger, but let that fuel your pursuit of whatever that is you're trying to pursue at this point in your life. Dissatisfaction, folks. Yes, motivation is the reason why, but that why usually has a huge component of dissatisfaction. If people were satisfied with everything, we all would be like Buddhist monks sitting there somewhere in the mountains of Tibet and watching our present passing us by, right? If you were satisfied with everything, we humans beings are so driven to change things because we are an unsatisfied nation or kind of creatures. So find your dissatisfaction, and that will drive you to pursue excellence. And if you don't have this, that's why you're probably stuck in some areas. That's your homework for today. On Wednesday, folks, stay tuned. I'm going to be bringing to you the best, the most current research and action steps in the area of ideal body weight, of fat loss for life. So what you're going to learn is how your brain works and what not to do, what screws you up in the areas of weight loss, and why so often, so many of people these days crave things that are not great for them, and that screws up their energy levels, their health journey, their fitness journey, and all other areas, because everything that we do depends on our health, on our nutrition, on our energy levels. So stay tuned for that. There is a lot of research came out recently, and a lot of psychologists and neuroscientists talk about how our food system is designed to hook our brains on the wrong stuff. But there is a solution to that, and it's not one-step solution, just don't eat it. No, that's actually a little bit more complex. And on Wednesday, you're gonna learn all about that. So if you struggle with cravings, if you know someone who's been struggling with cravings, and because of that struggle with their health, with their weight, and their life journey in general. So this is the podcast to not miss. We're gonna do that on Wednesday. But for today, find your source of motivation, find your dissatisfaction, and then stir it, amplify the pain, and that's gonna fuel your heart-challenging pursuit, right? Like nothing else. That's how human psyche works, folks. You are where you are, business-wise, relationships-wise, health-wise, because you were dissatisfied back in the past with how things were. So find it again, and that will propel you forward. And with that, I'm going to leave you, let you have an amazing week. Share this podcast if you find it useful. Rate it, review it. Stay tuned and find your source of dissatisfaction.